Welcome back to Tech Take. I'm Adam Housley in Los Angeles. You know, Twitter's been cracking down on joke stealers. This started really in the last couple of weeks. And it has a lot of people upset because jokes were being taken and then retweeted. And maybe the whole idea of having now that quote retweet thing that Twitter does might help the situation. But still, they are cracking down on people that are potentially stealing jokes. Here to talk about it's Eric Yaverbaum. You know, we've had Eric on a lot of times. Eric he's the real Yaverbaum. I always get that mixed up on Twitter. You also can find him at ericopr.com and trumpedmag.com. Eric, thanks for joining us.
Thanks so much for having me again.
Hey, you know, what's interesting about this, and I want to get into this, is that it kind of came to light. Was it a couple of weeks ago? I believe is when it really kind of had a firestorm when a guy retweeted something as his own. He gained like 20,000 followers because it was a very funny and actually kind of innocent tweet that he redid. And then all of a sudden, one woman called him out on Twitter, and I can't remember the exact tweet, but when she called him out, it kind of got some fire, and people were like, "Whoa, this guy stole a tweet." And I think that maybe that might have been the catalyst to really push Twitter forward in this crackdown. But it's kind of interesting, Eric. Well, Twitter's going after people that are retweeting jokes.
Yeah, I don't know if they're actually proactively going after people. I think that's, to be seen. We'll see. What they are doing now, and there's laws about this, copyright laws right now today in the real world, they don't cover, short phrases or, 140 characters. So Twitter's not covered by any copyright laws. The DMCA, the Digital Millennium Copyright Act, which covers anything that is, digital, does, but not, on Twitter. So what Twitter's doing, it has created an avenue, if you complain, that they may or they may not take the quote down. But it does bring up the question of, free speech. Are we allowed to say things or not? Is 140 characters possibly copyrightable?
I mean, it could be. Obviously, copyright's changed since the course of its creation here in the U.S. Obviously, a lot of things have changed. There were obviously no computers, and even printing presses back then were much different. I guess my question to you is, Twitter's basically created its own rules. They've created their own policing, and they've created their own, basically, judgment. I guess they have a right to do that as a corporation and as a private corporation, but still, it's like they're doing their own. They've kind of created their own thing here.
Look, they're morphing. I mean, one of the problems at Twitter is they're not growing their user base, so that's a problem for a business. They're not growing their user base. They need to appeal to a larger number of people. It's ironic. Their co-founder is a big hardline. Takes a big hardline stance on free speech. It's so ironic to see Twitter doing this now. My question about Twitter is, are they really cracking down, or are they just responding when people complain? I mean, these stories are in the news now. The last few weeks, a lot more. There's a story with a writer. She has a joke. I don't even get the joke. She complained. She said, it's her joke. She tests things on Twitter, and they took it down. I didn't get the joke. I don't get why that has any kind of copyright, but Twitter judged it to have one. But I don't know, call it the Twitter police, whatever you want to call it. I don't think that they have real rules yet. I think they're treading on a very, very precarious, line of what they take down and what they leave up.
It is a very precarious line, and you touched on a topic that we were not going to hit up today because it's another whole segment, and that is, what does Twitter do to kind of reinvent itself? We've seen Facebook do that when they were losing users. They obviously bought out another couple tech corporations, did some work, and have kind of, in some respects, reinvented themselves several times, actually. How does Twitter do that in 140 characters? I guess before we get to that, that's a totally different topic, but off of that, what's interesting to me is one area that has upset a lot of people is the fact that while they go after people for retweeting a joke or maybe taking somebody else's joke as their own, they really haven't gone after some of these terror groups that are using Twitter to spew their propaganda and their hate. Terror groups from overseas like ISIS and Al-Qaeda using Twitter, and they're not being maybe policed as tightly as people that are retweeting jokes. At least, again, it's all in your own opinion.
That's the thing about Twitter and the history of Twitter, which is not that long. Is real revolutions have actually happened. Governments have been toppled. Things happen on Twitter that haven't happened anywhere else. It lights up a news cycle like nothing else. But yes, why are some of those things allowed? And a joke from a writer, gets a DMCA takedown. Why is that?
Yeah, good question. That's obviously something I think we're going to continue to explore here on Tech Take. Eric, thanks as all for joining us. We always appreciate you on the show. Eric Yaverbaum, you can find him more at ericopr.com, also trumpedmag.com. Good stuff on there. We appreciate you joining us.
Thanks so much for having me. Always great to be here.
All right, I'm Adam Housley in Los Angeles, and you're watching Tech Take.